Welcome to Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. I'm Reed Price. I'm the director at the Senior Community Center, and we meet several times a week for this podcast, which I'm happy to say has been named the best of Bainbridge
Awesome.
in 2014, thanks to votes from people like you, as they say in the public radio sphere. We're going to talk with Amanda Yeoman Brooke from Bainbridge Performing Arts today. Before we do, I want to thank our sponsor in the world of nonprofits. We definitely depend on sponsorship and donations, and we are grateful that Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island sponsors Something to Talk About. They offer independent living, assisted living, and memory care up on Rolling Bay. They also have day stay and respite care programs, and they'd love to treat you to lunch and give you a tour. Call Celia or Jamie and check out their bar and grill by calling 206 594 1010. Their website is fieldstonecommunities.com. And we, along with the Bainbridge Performing Arts Buxton Center, are meeting on the ancestral homeland of the Suquamish people, the people of the clear salt water, who have lived here on the Salish Sea since time immemorial, and we continue to learn from their stewardship of these lands and waters. So we are grateful for that. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate that from the box office at BPA.
Thank you so much
Uh,
for having me.
you're welcome. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're doing at BPA with the theater program, please.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Amanda and I am the theater school coordinator here. So I oversee our curriculum and our various programs and develop a different set of classes and programs for every quarter. And so we do our classes and workshops are broken up every quarter. For example, our fall quarter that has just begun a few weeks ago started mid-September and it'll go through the end of November. And we might have certain things like a short camp or a workshop in the month of December, but then winter quarter will start up again right after the new year and we'll go through till about the beginning of March. And then we'll do spring and then summer. So it's all broken up in that way. But it's really something that's quite versatile and we offer so many different programs and classes and workshops for all different ages. We start at age 8 and we go up to age 105 or maybe 106. We'll have to see, TBD. We just had an adult workshop yesterday where one of the participants in it was 89. So that's just goes to show that you can never stop learning and growing and experiencing new things. So that's kind of the short version of a lot of the details.
Well, when you look at theater school, theater programs, um, what is the sort of goal, or maybe there are different goals for the different age groups, or even the different kinds of classes that you offer? Because some folks, this is going to be like a fling of kind of experimentation, and for other folks, they're getting pretty excited about theatrical work and improving their skills.
Exactly, you're exactly right. So it's something where you don't have to have any experience or you don't have to have it doesn't have to be your main passion or deepest desire to be someone who's going to be in a bunch of productions, or it can be. So that's kind of something that we try our best to meet everyone where they're at. The main philosophy behind our programming is just that everyone who comes through our doors feels that they don't have to be anything other than themselves. So it's not a place where you have to try to pretend to be more experienced or at a higher level than you are. And what matters most to us is just that people are feeling very encouraged and supported in our groups and in our classes, and that there's no judgment or criticism when they come through. So I think one thing that people would be surprised by is that there's so many different skill levels that do come into, especially the adult workshops. When we have a group of 10, 12 adults at our adult workshop, it might be something where a few of them used to do a bunch of theater, and when they were younger, and then now they come in and they're like, well, it's been 30 years, but I thought I'd give it another try. And they're just trying to reignite something that they previously loved. Or there's people who have never done it, who are coming in and saying, I just thought it would be fun. I just thought I'd give it a try. And so it's really for anyone. There are people who also are part of our main stage productions who will also take our workshops, and they're just there to sharpen their skill set and improve where they're at. And so we kind of tailor it to everyone who comes through the door. So if someone's already very skilled, I'm not gonna sit there and break down certain basics with them or foundational level, but if someone isn't, then I will. So we can kind of take that time in our workshop to address everyone where they're at and help them grow to the next level.
You kind of take the pulse of the group as you're getting organized.
And that's a big part of when I'm planning for a workshop. I do a very loose plan. This is kind of the philosophy of all of our teachers, is that we all have this loose plan. Then once we actually have the group in front of us, then we nail down all the specifics, and we nail down everything at that time after we know the group and their individual goals as just for themselves, and then also as a whole, so that we can make sure everyone's getting the most out of it that they possibly can.
What kinds of motivations have you experienced with people coming who aren't sure whether this is something they want to do? It's kind of an experiment.
I think what I've noticed is some people are coming in because of it's very connecting. You connect to others, and it's very community driven. So you get to connect with new people and just play with people, and especially post COVID world where people feel like they were so isolated for so long. It's really beautiful when people can make connections again and realize, oh my gosh, they're thinking the same way that I think, or they like to play in the same way I do, or this is just fun, or it gets me out of my comfort zone. And some people take it just for their own ability to socially navigate conversation again, because that's something that during COVID, all of us kind of had that subdued. And so it helps with anxiety, it helps with creativity. It helps with using different pathways in the brain. So people come for all different reasons, but one of the things I've noticed is just that, especially with the varying the offers that we have for our adult workshops are so varied that I feel like they in particular come because there's certain things that resonate with them. Specifically, like yesterday, we had a beginner Shakespeare adult workshop, and people came to that, and then they learned about exploring classical texts and the origin of so many of the first kind of wave of theater of Shakespeare was, the biggest playwright of his time, but also is to this day, 420 plus years later, the most produced playwright in the world. So people are kind of curious as to why that is.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's it's an amazing idea that we are still uh, able to explore and interpret uh, Shakespeare. And of course, Shakespeare took a lot of other things that he interpreted, and now you keep running into things. Sheila's part of our Shakespeare group. We have a group that meets on Thursdays and reads Shakespeare
Oh,
and
awesome.
and discusses it, and then we often go to either a BPA performance or to the Seattle Shakespeare Group and watch their interpretations. Yeah, Shakespeare's a playwright all to himself, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And I recognize Sheila. Hi, Sheila. How are you?
Hi, Amanda. I'm doing good. I hope you are too. You are too, obviously, you can tell.
It's been wonderful. We've definitely been growing, especially since we've opened the Buxton Center, and Elizabeth did such an amazing job growing the theater school program prior to me taking over that position. So when she moved on to the executive director position and asked me to move up to where her position was, she had done such a great foundation. And so my goal was to just basically help it thrive and grow and continue in that same vein as best as I possibly could. And we have increased our capacity of students quite a bit, even in just this past year. Any place I can squeeze another theater school class or workshop on the schedule, that doesn't take, you know, we have our studio space and our stage space, and they have the main stage rehearsals on there. But anytime I'm like, "Oh, there's a gap. Okay, we can have a class then. We can have a workshop then," and just try to make sure we have as many offerings as possible, because the community seems to be really interested, and our youth program particularly sells out incredibly fast, and we have a wait list for that. But the adult one, there's still room. Like if they sell well and it's great and it's a wonderful group, but there's still room. And this is why I was most interested in talking to you, was just because I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know if everyone knows that about these programs. And certainly, like I said, that there's no age limit on these programs. The adult workshops are 18 to however old, you know, and so
However old you turn out to be.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, and so we still have several this quarter. We have acting foundations next Sunday, and that one
mhm.
still has 2 spots open, and that's with a wonderful teacher we have here, Laurel, and she's doing a Meisner philosophy focus. But it's also just a great foundational acting course. And then after that, I'm teaching one with my longtime acting coach, who I've trained with for over 17 years. He's in Seattle, and he is really successful in the industry over in Seattle. His name's Tony Dupay. He does film and theater and directing and producing, and is a professor and a coach. And he's coming over and co-teaching that workshop with me, and we'll be focusing on acting and auditioning techniques, because a lot of people are curious about even just how to audition for one of our main stage productions. So we kind of are doing a foundational level of that, or if someone already has expertise in auditioning, they can still come in, because it's such a memory muscle memory, that you have to kind of redo it, you know, to keep it fresh and keep it focused.
So tell us a little bit about your life experience and what brought you to BPA. It sounds like you have been working with the theater group before you took on this job.
Yeah, I have been passionate about acting since I was a little kid, and when I was 6, 7, I would just record myself doing I Love Lucy scenes in the living room, playing both Lucille Ball and Ricky Ricardo, and I just would run back and forth playing both parts as fast as I could.
That is so cool.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
where that started, and Lucille Ball to this day is still my all-time biggest inspiration. And so from there, I just kind of pursued theater throughout high school and then into college. And then I went to University of Washington and got my bachelor's degree there in acting and drama, and also got separate directing and film acting certificates through Shoreline Community College with Tony Dupay. And then moved to LA and kind of tried things down there for a bit, only to find that that's not exactly where I want to live my life. So I rerouted back up here. And when we came back up here, we started a family. And then I was like, well, I still want to pursue acting as much as I can. So I've been with my same agent for a really long time, Big Fish. And so I still pursue acting. And have done many independent films and little commercials and corporate videos and various theater productions, and that's stuff I love. But in 2015, I actually started working at Whidbey Island Center for the Arts, and started teaching over there. We were living there at the time, and I just came into the theater there, and I was like, you know, I have a lot of training, and I have taken a lot of I have my degree in this, and I took separate training after college to learn about how to teach, and kind of pursued it that way. And then they were like, "This is a great plan," and I was like, "Well, okay, can I teach teens? Because I think that might be my favorite group." And so I started teaching teens, and had a wonderful time over at Whidbey Island Center for the Arts. And then we eventually moved to Bainbridge, and then I started teaching at BPA in 2018. And I taught until COVID shut us down. And then when things started to pick back up over at the pavilion, Elizabeth came back on as the director of education, and Dominique had said, you know, Amanda was teaching with us for a long time. Why don't you pull her back in? And so Elizabeth reached out and I rejoined BPA. And then a year after that, she moved up and I moved up. So that was.
That's quite I mean, it makes a lot of sense, as many of our lives do, looking back, because you've
Yeah,
got all this great experience in directions that kids may explore, and
yes,
you have a personal passion,
yeah.
and you really understand teaching and community theater.
Yeah, that was Whidbey Island was a great place to start because they have no programs for their high schools or middle schools. At least they didn't at the time that I taught for acting or drama at all. They didn't have even like a drama department at their high school or anything. So a lot of the kids who joined my classes at that time had no outlet for that. So that was a really great ground up kind of program that we did over there. And then when I came here, BPA had been doing stuff with the community for years and years and years. And so I was just thrilled to join in and continue teaching teens. That was kind of my main group. And then I was able to expand over the last few years to teaching preteens and adults too. So
And it sounds like you also are involved with recruiting other teachers and coordinating some of the deciding what's going to be on the curriculum in any given quarter.
yeah, so we have Tina's our improv teacher here, and she teaches 3 levels of adult improv, and she's phenomenal. And then she also co-teaches the classes with me and does an improv focus with my teens and my preteens. So she teaches youth and adult improv across the board. And then we also have one other improv teacher, Sandy, who's part of the Edge here at BPA, and she's also a wonderful improv teacher, and she teaches level 2 of the adult improv classes. And then we have a few other teachers, Terrace and Laurel and Josie, who are wonderful, that teach a variety of our youth classes. And they all have their own path and expertise in the performing arts and degrees in it and experiences and their own passions. And they're all just incredibly well qualified and just phenomenally passionate teachers. And then occasionally I'll pull Matt, who works here, into our teaching. He's our coordinator, marketing coordinator, and kind of does a million other things here. But he
Yes,
can,
it does.
yeah, he does a gazillion things here. But I'll pull him in for dialects and some film work with me. He last spring we did a whole program on camera. And we brought people from IVC through the senior center in to tell stories, and the teen students wrote monologues, and Sheila came in for that.
Yeah,
And
that was fun. That was fun.
yeah, how did you feel about it, that whole experience?
I thought it was excellently done and very well organized. Yeah, it was. The kids were fantastic. They had some good questions. I found it really, what I found interesting was listening to the other people talking.
Oh
Really?
man, so many fascinating stories.
Oh, yeah.
So they came and shared their stories, and then the teens wrote monologues and took a little bit of creative liberties from their stories, and then we filmed them and had them premiere in the studio on the screen. And all the people who came to tell and share their stories came and watched these performances of the teens having these filmed pieces. So it was
Wonderful.
wonderful, yeah.
It was.
So it was historical fiction.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
But
thanks, Reed.
there was close accuracies.
Yeah,
with
I
that
know.
one.
Yeah, look at the hair. Yeah, you know. Yeah,
Hey, Sheila, I mean, look at me.
I know.
So, Alyssa, who's joining us on her iPhone, says the team of teachers are fantastically supportive for persons at every level.
Oh, well, thank you, Alyssa. She's a wonderful student, and she joins our adult improv classes and workshops as well. So she gets a bunch of variety sampling of what we offer. And to go back to just because you had asked about like the different programming, for example, our Theater Arts 1 class right now is focusing on puppets, and with our puppet master, Ken Michaels. And he's guest teaching, and the kids are creating their own puppets and their own stories. And that's a great 8 to 10-year-old focus this quarter. And then our preteen and our teen classes, which is our Theater Arts 2 and Theater Arts 3 classes, are doing a bunch of foundational work. So we're doing improv, Stanislavski methods, Meisner methods. There's going to be a couple days where they're doing an intro to musical theater. There's going to be a couple days with Matt doing dialects. So they're getting this big foundation of things for fall, so that when we move into winter quarter, they feel more prepared, as we're going to do most likely a short play for most of the classes to put on at the end of for the end of the quarter. So that's going to be a big shift of just where we're in rehearsal all quarter next quarter. And
Wow.
yeah, that'll be fun. And then we have Matt Smith, who was also one of the founders of The Edge, teaches improv with us too. And he did a long form improv workshop with us recently. And then he's doing a writing and improv workshop at the end of November. And yeah, so we're trying to make sure that, you know, whatever creative passion you have, you can further that interest here.
And you can
Does Chris
find
work
all
with
the,
you at all?
oh, I'm sorry, Sheila, go ahead.
I was just wondering if Chris works with you at all.
Sotavia?
Yeah.
He's pretty busy at Hyla, but I think he's wonderful.
right.
So
He's teaching over there, isn't he?
yeah, I honestly would be happy to talk to him anytime. He's a fantastic teacher, and I've taken improv classes with him, and
Me
anytime,
too.
yeah, anytime he had I have a student with us from Hyla, I instantly text Chris and I'm just like, okay, tell me about the student, because I'm really excited to work with them. And so we touch base sometimes.
I was just going to say that the programs are all listed if you wanted to go through and look more carefully at BainbridgePerformingArts.org. And
Yeah.
there's like a classes or activities education, I guess, is the tab. And you go down and you can see what's coming up. And it sounds like if there's a break in the main stage schedule, Amanda will come up with something to fill it.
And actually Matt just finished our brand new website, so it's even easier to navigate now. He launched it as of 2 days ago. So that website is all shiny and new, and it displays all of our classes very, very easily and readily for everyone. And one thing I wanted to point out that yes, so actually it's great that you're showing this, because if you scroll down just a little bit, right here where it says request a scholarship or donate to our scholarship fund, I just want to point out, anyone who has any concern, regardless of age, that is worried about the financial cost of one of our classes or workshops can apply and request a scholarship. This is a very easy application. It's one page. You don't have to prove your income. We basically are just here to say, if you're asking for help and you want to be part of a creative class, we're here to help. It's not something I want anyone to feel they can't take a class because they can't afford it. That request a scholarship is way easier than most people think. It's comes straight to me, and I'm able to keep things, you know, confidential, and then approve them thanks to some of the grants we have right now. And then at the same time, just so we don't deplete our grant funds completely, we have the donate to our scholarship fund. So if someone signs up for a class and is like, I could donate the same amount of tuition fee, then it provides it for another student. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of people in Bainbridge who do need financial help too. And I would say upwards of 10% of our student body needs scholarship.
Yeah,
So
that sounds very similar. We have a very similar program at the Senior Community Center. We try to keep our prices low, but if anybody finds price to be an obstacle, we're happy to waive the fee and keep track of the scholarship. And yes, I say 10 to 15, 20% of our members also. And it is, you know, a misnomer sort of about the island. And so, but we want everybody like you to participate if they want.
yeah, I just can't emphasize enough how much that is something we don't want to be a barrier at BPA. And the same even goes for our main stage tickets. Like anyone who needs one that is worried about the cost of a main stage ticket can also get one. We have our open doors policy here. So it's something where yeah. And also
Great.
one thing I changed this year about the scholarship fund too is that when you apply for the scholarship, You don't have to apply for it for every class or workshop, which is kind of how you used to have to do it. You just have to apply once per quarter, and then the code that I send applies to any of the classes or workshops that you want to take for the whole quarter. So
Neat.
it works for the whole quarter now instead of per class or per workshop.
That's brilliant, and that's very generous. And
Another way you can get to see the plays is Usher.
Yes,
Oh,
Sheila
yeah.
is with us. Yes.
I've only
So-
been doing that for 20 years now, or whatever.
yeah, definitely you can volunteer to help BPA do the great stuff you do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Everyone's
wonderful.
And I'd love to just see even more people, you know, like just coming and trying out the workshops and finding themselves maybe surprised to discover, you know what, even if they just have fun, or if they're like, this is quite creative and invigorating, and I connected with these people, and I didn't know I had people that thought like me. It tends to be the place where people often are finding their people. I don't know if I said people enough in that sentence, but people are found here with their people.
Well, people who need people are the luckiest people. I just have to say that. Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to give us an update, and I hope that people who
Good
need
job.
people are gonna watch this and get in touch with you, because it's a wonderful resource, and we kind of might not know about all the stuff that's going on in between the other things, the you're in town and so forth, the big shows, that this is a wonderful meeting center, connecting place, Bainbridge Performing Arts.
Thank you so much. And yeah, anyone can reach out to me. My contact's on that theater page. So any questions, I'm happy to answer, and hope to see you also.
Okay, be well.
See you
You
soon,
too.
Amanda.